I'm here at Lake Coeur d'Alene today to tell you what I think of the book, Coeur d'Alene Waters. I thought Coeur d'Alene Waters would be the best place for me to explain what I feel about this book. And there they are. It's beautiful. Even though today is December 1st, anyhow, I guess I'll just have to come out and say it. I'm not a big fan of the book, Coeur d'Alene Waters. I think it was well written. I think that the author has a good writing style and a lot of promise, but the book started out with just a horrible, gruesome scene of murder. And I thought it was totally unnecessary. There's several things that I don't like to see in books. And one of them is gratuitous violence. If it doesn't really need to be there, I think it shouldn't be there. It was very disturbing, and since it was at the very beginning of the book, cars driving by. There's not much traffic out here, but there's some. I'm in sort of a recreation area right now, and still people are showing up to recreate, even though it's December 1st and kind of cold out here. Anyhow, I thought that the murder scene was ridiculously gruesome and unnecessarily so, and that kind of turned me off to the book. But I read it because it was about Coeur d'Alene Waters and I live here. So, reading the book, I did think that there was some very good prose in it, and I felt that the author had a lot of promise as an author, but that was his first book. And then when I got to the end of the book, I saw his little bio where it said that he got the idea when he was 19 years old. And I think that kind of explains it right there. Got company. If you've watched my North Idaho Centennial Trail bicycle videos, you might remember this map. Right now we're way out here. Maybe about right here somewhere. Towards the end of the trail. Anyhow, okay. The other vehicle is leaving, for which I am grateful. So I'll return to my little book review here. So, yeah, as I was saying, he got the idea when he was 19 years old, and I think that he wrote it when he was quite young. So, I would totally read another book by him to see how he has changed as an author during the time that has gone past since he wrote that first novel. I did read somewhere, was it on his website or something, or in an article, that was going to be the first of a series, and I just hope that if he does write more, that he just leaves the murder scenes a little less gruesome. I keep coming back to that word. It's the only word I can think of to describe what he wrote. It was just horrible. And I think, like I said, it happening at the beginning of the novel really probably turned off a lot of readers. It certainly did for me, and I wouldn't have read it. I wouldn't have continued reading it if it wasn't for the fact that I live here. And so I can say the rest of the book was actually pretty well done. I liked the characters. There were some well-developed characters in there, and he often referred to the area in which we live, either Coeur d'Alene or Silver Valley or even Spokane, which is to the west of us. So The plot itself I thought was very well developed. It was a nice historical novel, sort of. It took place, I think, in the 1980s, and it was about the Sunshine Mine disaster that had taken place, and that actually was a historic event that he included in the novel. So I would say that I will definitely be interested in reading his other novels. I already have checked a little bit into the plots, and they are not murder mysteries like this one was. So I guess that's all I have to say about that book right now. I might come up with something more when I get home. But right now I am so cold. It is really cold out here. And we're expecting snow this weekend. So, yeah. I think that he has the promise of a good writer, but that really... it really sounded like something a very young man would come up with, very young. And it reminded me somewhat of Cup of Gold by John Steinbeck. Now, I am a big John Steinbeck fan, especially because I lived in that area growing up. I lived north of there in the San Francisco Bay Area, but we often went down to Monterey Bay because my mother had grown up in the Monterey Bay Area. She actually grew up in Santa Cruz, and so I'm really familiar with that area and have gone there on vacations many times. So John Steinbeck, yeah, I read, I think, most of what he's had published, and then I found his first novel, which is Cup of Gold, which had nothing to do with California. It was about pirates, and it was awful. In a way, I can say that you could see from reading it that he had the makings of a very good writer. And there was some really amazing, inspired prose in Cup of Gold. And so I liked that part of it, but I really didn't like the pirates. I mean, by the time I got finished reading that book, I really did not like pirates at all. And I had just read it back to back with another book about piracy, The Dark Frigate by Charles Boardman Hawes, I think was his name. And it was a book that won the Newbery Medal. I believe it was the second year of the Newbery Medal, so that would be, what, 1923 or something like that. So by the time I got finished reading the two pirate books, I really did not like pirates at all. And so I know after writing the awful pirate book, John Steinbeck became a very good novelist, writer. And I think the same is probably true of Ned Hayes, who wrote Coeur d'Alene Waters. And I will look into reading his other books. I think that he has a lot of promise as a writer, and which he is now fulfilling in various ways. And that Coeur d'Alene Waters was just his first attempt as a young man. So that's it from me, your correspondent at Lake Coeur d'Alene today, freezing myself out here just so I can tell you about a book. Talk to you later. Bye.